Well, welcome to the West Sports Show, and it is officially party time. The Perth Scorchers have won a 6th title in the Big Bash, their 9th final overall, so a remarkable record. And to break it all down, joining me is the West Australian's chief cricket writer, Jackson Barrett. How are you, mate? Have you come down yet?
Yeah, I have. It's a special thing to be able to cover. Like we are obviously neutral reporters when it's game time, but we cover these guys up close for a long period of time. A lot of them are the guys that we cover for 6 months of the year playing domestic cricket. And it's good to see good people do good things. They're a bloody good cricket team, which goes without saying, but they're a pretty slick organisation down there, as you know, the Scorchers, and they deserve all the success that comes their way, which has been plenty.
I could put a finger on it. I did a read in the lead up on what makes this club, let's call it a club, so successful, and I think it comes down to the all-in buy-in. So it's like a family. So it's not just the players, it's not just the coaches, it's the administration, it's their families. So it's sort of a complete buy-in, and I think the continuity of players, which is also, the Sixers have also had that continuity over the years, and they've been the second most successful franchise. So I think that's got a lot to do with it, apart from, obviously natural ability, but I think that continuity and also a very solid core of local talent. Yeah,
I kind of view the Scorchers as a club, but I often view other teams as a franchise. And I think they've kind of been able to break the mold of this, like, what was essentially a startup league where they just went, all right, here's 8 cookie cutter clubs, go for your life. And they were able to kind of turn that into a club, into a family. They obviously had the strong core supporter base of the WACA members who were always going to, move over to the Scorchers in the early days. So I think that helps. I'm sure that's the case in Adelaide and Brisbane in particular as well, Hobart again. But they were just, I don't know, they just built an identity early. I think clearly, and you touched on this in your read with some of the pioneers of the club, the colours worked, the name worked, the WACA ground worked. Then they outgrew the WACA ground, so the move to the stadium worked.
Which was controversial and not without risk.
Yeah, it was. They kind of hard launched it with a final, which they lost in 2018, which I think kind of left a bit of a funny feeling around the move in the early days. But 55,000 people there last night absolutely franks that. They're a fine-tuned organisation, and one of our other cricket writers, Josh Kempton, did a really good piece with Ricky Ponting in the lead-up, who has coached around the world, is still involved in Hobart, and he says that every T20 franchise, every short-form franchise is trying to model themselves off what the Scorchers are doing, but it's easier said than done. There was one line I really liked, speaking to Ashton Turner in his press conference last night, where he said, we always talk about continuity, and people talk about continuity with the Scorchers, but the players within that still have to earn the right to be given those opportunities over and over again, which they've done as well. So they deliver on the field.
So you mentioned 55,018 spectators. It's a record crowd to watch cricket.
Yeah, which is incredible.
Western Australia.
Yeah.
And a little bit of a hint, well, not a hint, a bit of drizzle beforehand. We'll get onto the rain controversy in a moment. But it was a kind of a dramatic start. And then, of course, we finally win another bat flip.
Yeah, that was huge for Ashton Turner. He lost something like 9 of his last 10 going into that one. And I think there had been benefit to the Scorchers in that they had learnt how to win batting first, and they kind of entered the finals being the only team that seemed really comfortable with that. But he did always, journos asked him time and time again, and they asked Adam Voges, would you consider choosing to bat first now? And every time they laughed it off. They still really wanted to bowl. But
every team had won in the finals, batting first.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So, I think the conditions this time were particularly helpful. Like Greg Shippard, the Sixers coach, spoke after about how the Scorchers effectively won the game with their use of the slower ball, particularly through David Payne and others and spinners and Hardy and pace off. But he doesn't think they were able to do that because they weren't able to grip the ball quite the same, and the field got slippery. And this is rain more so, but that becomes a factor with dew elsewhere in the country as well. So that's why you want to be chasing. There's the old grade cricket thing is like runs on the board in a final. But I think clubs want to be able to pace their innings a little bit, and the Scorchers did that nicely.
So the Sixers bat first, sent in to bat 133. Really good, solid, economical bowling from Cooper Connolly and Aaron Hardy. Bierman picks up 2 wickets, Richardson 3 wickets. I thought Bierman, I was so pleased he got a wicket in the first place because he bowled really well. He was a bit unlucky. But David Payne, 3 for 18. As you said, using that slower ball to perfection. And that off-cutter, that just seemed to be a bit clueless, actually, to be quite honest. It felt like what a great performance, was named player of the final. To me, watching that, it felt like Steve Smith was the difference in this game. So it was a bit cocoa bananas early, and then LBW to Payne, a great review. I just felt like when he was out, I felt like this is the Scorchers to lose.
Yeah, I agree. I wrote in my analysis that it kind of felt like they were downhill skiing from there, and like they would never say that because there was plenty of hard work that needed to be done between that Smith wicket and the winning runs being hit. But I thought it had a similar sense about it to when they met on Tuesday night, in that while Smith's out there, they were still a danger. They bat deep, the Sixers. They have Mitch Starc at number 11, which is remarkable, really. Wouldn't have batted at number 11 many times before. But with that said, there aren't many match winners there outside Smith. Josh Phillippe's done it before. He came into the final in not the greatest nick. Moses Enriques was battling. Lachlan Shaw probably not quite there yet. So it still just felt like Smith had to be the man.
He's the fulcrum. He's the linchpin.
Yeah,
Everyone else can flourish around him, and he needs to be there.
Yeah, he was really the only one that looked capable of striking at more than 200, which you need to post a really nice total. You need to have someone do that for 5 or 6 overs at least. The review was brilliant. I mean, my instinct was that it was going high. I actually didn't even love the review.
Keep it low, though. I thought this is going to be really interesting. We're all hoping.
Yeah, well, he hit him above the knee roll, which is always, you kind of go like, I don't know. But, yeah, very sharp review from Ashton Turner in the end, and the big wicket went to Aaron Hardy. It felt kind of inconspicuous, didn't it? Because it was the first over of his spell, and it's funny, Hardy was the third bowler to hit Smith on the pads with the first ball of their spell. So he was obviously just taking a short moment, not long, mind, to just get used to the kind of up and down nature of the wicket, and they got him while he was vulnerable.
Not without controversy, the game. We'll get into some other controversies in a moment, but we must talk about the Cooper Connolly catch. Ashton Turner Mark II. You feel ripped off at the time. Now, within the letter of the law, it's the right call. It's not out. But that really needs to be reviewed. Mike Hussey called for it to be reviewed. You can see there's a sentiment to review this law because clearly, while his body movement led to the not out call, he was in control of that. It was he caught it, even pulling up short of the boundary row. Everything I thought was in control. It was just that ball touching the grass quite late in the action.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably roll out the podcast segment that we did and the analysis piece that we all wrote after the Ashton Turner catch, right? Like by the letter of the law, it's probably out. The decision was fine, but the rule just smells a little bit.
I think, thankfully, it didn't really determine the result.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it did the last time it happened to the Scorchers, very much so. I think this one probably like closer to a 50-50 call than even the Turner one, because I mean Turner was still rolling when he put the ball on the ground, and he did kind of put the ball on the ground to stop himself. People still talk about that, and they look at the first time the blades of grass might have nipped the ball on the way through, but it was actually after he kind of rolls and then puts the ball on the ground. With Connolly, I felt his body was closer to being under control because, like you say, he'd slid. It's a wet outfield. He was always going to have to stop it at some point, right? But the problem is he went bang straight on the turf, and so he was always going to be in trouble there. The thing that I think has confused a lot of people, and I wouldn't mind chasing some clarity on, is the idea of batters crossing the boundary. So that doesn't seem to be...
But there's an argument that until the bowler's delivered the next ball.
Yeah, and funnily enough, Payne, it's a good point you make. David Payne was really keen to bowl a cricket ball. So he was obviously aware of that rule because he was like, let me go. He was at the top of his mark.
Yeah, he knew the rules.
Yeah, he was at the top of his mark trying to wander in. So, I think, same. My take's the same as the Turner catch. I think the sentiment around changing the rule will grow. but I don't know. I mean, there are grey areas in cricket, right? And one day we're going to have a situation where someone does control the ball, but they aren't in control of their body, and just the spirit of that catch might kind of lean the other way, and we'll have this debate all over again. Like
the game that's quite revolutionary, T20 cricket. I think it needs to reflect the times a little bit. I think this is one example.
Yeah, I think that one needs.
It's funny how you say, we should all know, and they're professional cricketers, so they know the rules, but a lot of us don't. A lot of punters don't.
Yeah.
For example, 5 overs with the rain coming down.
Yeah.
And Steve Smith immediately in the commentary said, interesting, they've called, after 5 overs have been bowled. Well, let's talk about that. So, magnificent effort from David Payne. Well, let's talk about him first before we move on.
Yep.
Just the use of the slower ball.
Yeah, so, I mean, we talk a lot about the big square boundaries at Optus Stadium, but the reality of that is if you can hit back of a length and you can take the pace off the ball, the players have to hit to those deep pockets and they have to put their own pace on the cricket ball, which makes it really impossible. Unless you can get hold of him by like flat batting him down the ground, you're just hitting out to those sweepers time and time again. And it just frustrated blokes. I mean, so 2 of Payne's 3 wickets, and he should have had the 4th, by the way. He was the Connolly catch.
Yes.
So you could argue he was robbed of a 4th. So I think the Sixers mismanaged the power play a little bit. I think they should have waited until Moses was actually out before they used it, rather than trying to use it to get him going. But Lockie Shaw just like flashes at an off cutter and skies one. On Reeks skies one as well. And Philippi had that one where like was essentially an off cutter that he tried to slash, and he just beaten for pace, funnily enough. And interesting commentary from Mark Waugh watching part of the game back last night. He basically said, you've got to treat him like an off spinner, like a left arm orthodox. So play him like you're playing Cooper Connolly. They were bowling at about the same pace because Connolly was fizzing some balls in to try and defend a little bit there. It's 105 to 115 Ks, and blokes just battled to get away. I joked last night, it gives blokes like me hope that kind of wander in and suburban turf.
I've seen you bowl, mate. You have no hope.
Wander in suburban turf cricket.
Greatest respect.
Just hit back of a length at 105 Ks. You can do it. You can be anything. But no, he's a really special cricketer for his just kind of like craft. And I think there's almost like a pig-headedness around bowling that sort of stuff. Like this is a guy that was once like a towering left arm quick that would charge in and was on the radar of England selectors as a genuine paceman, and he's made a career rolling around T20 competitions. He won the last title for the Scorchers, so he's played 12 games and won 2 titles.
And a year in Adelaide.
And a year in Adelaide in between, and a year sitting out the competition altogether in between. But he did say he had been waiting by the phone since playing in that last title. He was disappointed he wasn't brought back. The club was disappointed that with the draft system they weren't able to get him back immediately. But they were able to make it happen. And he's also won, so January 4, he won January 6, he won the ILT20 title with Desert Vipers, took 3 wickets in that final as well. Comes straight out here, plays 48 hours later, plays 6 games for the season, and now he's a champion.
Start to the year, isn't it?
Yeah, he's
some things are worth waiting for, Jacko. Of course, they got him late. He arrived late in the piece. Here's a question without notice that you're going to struggle to answer. If you could only have one of the two, Payne or Finn Allen?
Finn Allen.
Okay.
Yeah. So greatest respect to David Payne, who I love as a cricketer and fits into that side really, really well. Finn can just change a game in 2 overs. So
can David Payne.
So can David Payne. Look, I think Finn Allen, I think his big bash has probably elevated him into the top like 3 or 4 power hitters in world cricket. I think in the nick he's in, he's going to take the World Cup by storm next month for New Zealand in what looks like
back into that India series as well.
Yeah,
I think. One night at home, I think he gets 1 night at home in between.
I think he might have been battling for 1 night at home. I think they wanted him on a plane today, and he was trying to give me 1 night sort of thing. And actually, it was Payne speaking last night that made the really good point that he is pigeonholed as a slogger, and there is a little bit of that about him, but he has been pretty open about changing his approach this season. And also, in the difficult Optus Stadium conditions, he's been the consistent performer at Optus Stadium, and he's summed up those conditions better than anyone. He found a method against Mitchell Starc, which not many people do. He ramped him for a 6 in both times they met. The one last night was a monster 6 into the second tier, and that was the moment. Like, said they were downhill skiing after the Smith wicket. They were like floating on air after the Allen ramp. So I'd take Allen. He's a bit younger as well. So
I knew you were going to answer that one. I knew you were going to go Finn Allen there.
I love David.
For what it's worth, I'm actually with you because I just think for the entertainment factor alone. So it was a very good beginning. So Mitch Marsh 44, Finn Allen 36. Really, they were never going to lose from there.
They needed to get to none for 40 was my view.
Yeah.
If they got to around that point, and if they did it not long after the power play, I thought they were kind of away from there.
So great performance there. Then as you wrote in your piece this morning, there's a bit of musical chairs really as to who was going to hit the winning runs.
Yeah, pass the parcel.
But anyway, they got there in the end, which was fantastic. Just another question with that. No, just a very deserved player of the final, David Payne. Time to name it after someone. Now, clearly there's some players who would probably be worthy, who are still playing in the competition.
Yep.
But then there'd be, like, if you rolled out, Sean Marsh, Aaron Finch is retired, but Glen Maxwell. For me, the player who sort of fits the bill the best, who wouldn't be, it's sort of cross border.
Yeah.
I think people would be Shane Warne. I mean, he didn't play a lot of T20, but he was a bit of a pioneer.
He didn't play a final.
Doesn't matter. I think just his contribution.
But it's the player of the final, man.
I know, but it's still. I think it needs to be. I like a name attached to a medal.
I've got one.
Okay, who's yours?
He hasn't retired yet, and we'll give him a few more years.
Mitch?
Ashton Turner.
Yeah. Okay.
He's the most clutch player in the history of the competition. You would think he delivers in big moments. He has been at the club for all 6 of their titles, played in 5 of them, captained 3. I mean, the first 15 years of this competition are formative years. We don't know what's going to happen to it over the next 4 or 5, but I think that'll age nicely, wouldn't it? In
it's a good call.
20 years.
Yeah, I have no issue with that at all. You probably need to give it a little bit of distance post-retirement.
Yeah, correct.
I think he's reflective of the team, the temperament, the skill level, the Ashton Turner. He just seems like he embodies that team better than anyone.
Turner medal.
Turner medal's not bad, is it?
Don't mind it.
Pretty good. Shane Warne obviously does have the Test Player of the Year named after him, but I wouldn't mind that either, just quietly. Let's look at a bit of controversy. We've mentioned the Cooper Connolly non-catch. Let's talk about travel. So Greg Shippard, the Sixers coach, had plenty to say after the game. One of them involved the travel schedule. So it was Brisbane, Perth, Sydney, Perth within 8 days, which is pretty tough. But you beat Perth the first time around. You're hosting the final. So it's sort of probably I'm not wearing that one.
Yeah, I'm a little bit the same. They lost to Perth in Perth 3 times. Like, you've had your opportunity to prove that you're the better side and that, like, you finished top. I mean, Perth didn't leave for like 8 days or something before the final. They played their last 3 games, but they also won 9 of their last 11 and won their last 5 on the way in, right? So I don't know. I think we have a 10-game regular season to figure out who's the best team. You then get another opportunity to try and pip them in the first final. And I think Sydney probably got the rough end of the stick in that they played Brisbane in the final game of the season. But that's just fixturing, right? Like, Brisbane need home games. Someone has to play them there. Someone had to travel from Hobart. So I don't know. The scheduling and like... I know it's tough. I know it's a lot of flights. They take their toll, but like David Payne flew in from the UAE and played 24 hours after landing. Like, these guys can do this in modern T20 cricket, and I think it was kind of just they slipped into this like grind in the last few weeks, and losing doesn't help. But they were also relying pretty heavily on 2 guys who were in their mid-30s and have played 5 Ashes tests as well. They didn't really have probably enough around those 2 guys. And Shippard called for an extra day in between those finals, which I don't know. I actually don't disagree with that.
So you have the final today on Australia Day?
Yeah, well, I mean, Australia Day is the sticking point there, isn't it? Because, I mean, the players don't want to play on Australia Day.
Fans probably don't want it to be on Australia Day.
I don't think fans across the board do at the moment.
They've got plans
either,
in place. Most.
I mean, Australia Day cricket was a staple, right? But the players definitely don't want to do it and haven't for the last few years. So, I mean, that kind of makes it hard. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe the whole thing needs to be set a couple of days back and maybe they do need a little bit more time. But I think the Sixers had their opportunity to proved that they were a better side and deserved the easier run into the finals, and they didn't get it.
So I won't cop the travel,
Yeah.
but I will cop the rain, as Steve Smith said on mic. It's pissing down.
Yeah.
And Finn Allen wants to go off too. He said.
Yeah, he said he's worried about his bat.
I was a bit. I thought it was a bit Rich Dobbin in Finn Allen, by the way. But look, I actually think they probably should have gone off at that point. It was pretty heavy rain.
It was pretty wet. And I mean, in hindsight, we know that they
wanted to get a result.
They would have got back on.
Yeah.
They obviously wanted to get a result. There was a reserve day in place. They could have come back, and my understanding is continued from where they were.
Yep. Which would have been when?
4 overs into the second.
But when would the reserve day?
Oh, today.
Oh, today.
Yeah, so 4:15 start Australia Day, which would have thrown a spanner in the works of the Australia Day debate. But they were pretty keen to get it done. I mean, it rained for 5 minutes. It was heavy, but in hindsight, we would have come back on anyway.
And it's not Test cricket. Let's make that distinction. I can understand in Test cricket you get a bit of precipitation, covers on, bang, you're off. I understand that.
Yeah.
Every ball's important. This Big Bash, you tend to go with it a bit, don't you?
Yeah, and I mean, Ship had made a point around our players couldn't control the ball as well as the Scorchers players did, so we couldn't use some of our cutters and some of our different slower ball methods. And maybe there's a little bit in that, but you were also defending 132, right? Like if you'd had a better first half of the game, you'd probably set yourself up a little bit.
They'll win the backflips. Story, you know. So, and the other controversy was before the game. So Saturday afternoon, press conference set up.
Yep.
Ashton Turner and Moses Enriquez, and no show from Moses due to the travel element.
Yeah, the Mo show.
So you're big on this.
Yeah, I am, and I told people this on Saturday afternoon. But how the day played out is the Sixers flew. So the Sixers beat Hobart in Sydney on the Friday night. They flew, they landed in Perth at, I think, about 1:30 or closer to 2 before a 3:30 presser. They had appeared to have made the call before they left that they weren't going to send someone to the presser, citing fatigue and the travel load.
One player. And
it doesn't have to be. So traditionally it's a captain's call. Traditionally it's the captain, but Curtis Patterson in previous years had done it for Moses in his place. The players went to, my understanding is the players went to a recovery lab in Perth when they landed, and then they went out for a couple of pints and a feed in East Perth. We obviously wrote the story in the West on Saturday night that these guys had been at the pub, and I mean, cricketers have a beer the night before a game. Like,
but if you're going to have a beer, you can spend half an hour at a conference.
Yeah, correct. So I'm not begrudging them having a beer. I'm not begrudging them spending time relaxing together. But if you land in Perth and go, all right, I've got 6 hours between landing and bedtime, I've got to fit in some recovery, and then what else is next on my priority list? I would have thought a commitment that you've said that you said you're going to be at is above beers and a feed at the pub, right? The other thing is the importance of a press conference. It might not seem like much. There's a couple of parts to this. I think the optics of letting Ashton Turner hold the trophy by himself.
It was bizarre. I didn't like it. You know what? I was actually worried it'd put the moz on them.
Yeah, I get that. But I think from the Sixers' point of view, it was kind of just like a defeatist mindset, right? It was like, well, we're cooked and we can't do this, so you do that, and we're on the back foot anyway.
Get on the front foot, turn up, absolutely.
And the other thing is, the reason you have press conferences is because the people who pay your bills are the broadcasters, the sponsors, and the fans. And all of those three parties want an insight into what's happening in the club, what you're thinking before your biggest game of cricket of the year. And sometimes there's not much in them, but sometimes there's guys injured. Or,
very least, it's a photo of the two captains with the trophy.
So Sydney media are then, what are they throwing? The Sydney News are throwing at grabs of Ashton Turner. Questions that we've asked Ashton Turner about Joel Paris's injury. That's not a good look. But also, I think you just owe your supporters an insight.
How are you going to turn it around after your last performance in Perth? Everyone needs to hear. I agree with you. Will there be any rap on the knuckles from the league?
No,
there should be.
The league kind of quietly says that they're not thrilled, but that they get it. They're not doing cartwheels.
Yeah, well, they should be forced to send someone to that.
I thought it was a really poor look. I wouldn't mind seeing that changed. And this isn't like, I mean, whatever Moses said was probably going to be the last line of my story in the Sunday Times, right? Like, I'm not whinging because I missed out. I think the fans and the stakeholders in the club miss out.
So the finals in Sydney, Scorchers don't turn up. Scorchers going to be whacked by the Sydney media?
Yeah, I would have thought
Absolutely.
so. And just to give you a little bit of insight, the WBBL final for Scorchers have played in Sydney, and then the final was in Hobart. So I think it was a Friday to a Sunday as well. The Scorchers sent Sophie Devine early before her teammates to make sure that she was at Hobart. You can't tell me the Sydney flight landing early mid-afternoon was the first flight of the day either. So
Final question.
Anyway.
Final question. So there will be some conjecture going forward about private ownership of these franchises. There's going to be some IPL ownership of teams. The Scorchers, what's your feeling on? So my feeling is they are loath to change their name, but if there's a significant investment from an overseas body, they may be forced to change their name from the Scorchers to something else. So, the Perth Super Kings or whatever it is. Yeah. I think that would be a big mistake.
The talk at the moment is that if the Scorchers are sold, they would more likely be one of the clubs where a 49% stake is sold, and
which means that they would have controlling interest, so they would remain the Scorchers.
Yeah, and I would say people like power brokers in WA cricket will fight tooth and nail to retain that identity. But privatisation is an inevitability now. I think the Thunder probably sounds like they'll be 100% sold on the pretense, according to reports this week, on the pretense that they're not moved out of Western Sydney. The Renegades look like they'll be 100% sold. So some of those kind of the two lower profile clubs.
I don't reckon a Melbourne team, and to be honest, Renegades, I've never liked the moniker, but I don't reckon they care that much. I think Perth's different.
Yeah, I think people in Melbourne would be interested in seeing a bit of a shake-up and maybe some different players and potentially some bigger names come through. Perth is different. Perth has fallen in love with this franchise, the club, the merchandise. We spoke about it and you touched on it in your read before the final series, like grown men in full orange kits and kids everywhere.
You see them everywhere.
Mate, last night, like looking... as journalists, we're lucky enough to be down on the ground as presentations happen. Just looking around at that crowd, it was just like it was incredible. And the week, like going to cafes and pubs the week before, people in kit, like I think there's a chance it happens. I hope that the Scorchers' identity is retained because I know that cricket fans are cricket fans, but yeah, I think they've like fallen pretty deeply for like what the whole package of the club.
And no offence to you, but Fremantle jumpers, it's almost replaced West Coast jumpers in visibility. It certainly has over the summer months.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just, you see this orange out there a bit even in winter.
Yeah, you see it a lot, which I think it's great for domestic cricket, right? Because that's the other thing, like 55,000 people. I always find it a little bit funny that 6 or 7 of the same 11 blokes can roll out in a one-day game or a Shield clash from Thursday next week, and there'll be 55 people there rather than 55,000.
Of course, yeah.
And I'll be one of them.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, my kids have always had the orange, and back in the day, they used to get their old pair of the creams and colour them in black.
Great,
for the backyard 2020 competition. So it is real, mate. What have you enjoyed most about the Big Bash this year?
It's a good question.
For me, with the Scorchers, it's against the odds. It's like losing the back foot, having to do it the hard way. They earned the right at the end to get the run of home games, but I thought just doing it the hard way.
Yeah, I think doing it a different way. Like we've never seen a top 7 like this in Scorchers history. We've never seen a dominance on the road. So they were 4-1 from their 5 away games. They did lose 2 home games, and they scored more than 200 runs in every away game. They had that remarkable game against the Heat.
What was it, 153 top score at home?
153 was their top score at home, which is, I mean, that's an incredible stat, really. And I don't know, I've never been a like 250 plays 250 kind of guy. Like I kind of love the 160 plays 150 where like
it gives both teams.
I love the surge rule. I love the use of. I love the tactics around that. I love the like. I loved watching David Payne last night. I just love that like real contest between bat and ball. So I think getting that 5 times, or at least 2 finals. So 7 times. You could probably take out the rain affected one at the start. We got some like really good cricket in Perth this year.
Well, thanks, Jacko. And remember, you can watch or listen to this podcast on YouTube Music. We'll be back next year for some more Big Bash. God willing.
Yeah, sounds good.